Okay, welcome to Chucky's Corner. This is another part, the next part of the L&L project. I started putting this together, I talked about it, and some things happened that I want to talk about. I'm not going to show it because my films are getting, these are getting a little bit long. And that is the problem with Z87, okay? Now, I knew this going in. This is one of the reasons why I tend not to get rid of a lot of stuff. Okay, and if you happen to be, if you're doing Z87s and you're new to this, or you know you're like me, if you happen to go to a yard sale and somebody says, "Hey, I got a computer, it doesn't work, you know, and I'll sell it cheap," and you look at it, and regardless with the motherboard, but it's 1150 or one of those newer chips, it's the i3 or i5 or something. 9 times out of 10, the problem is not the chip. You buy it. If you can get it for 10, 20 bucks, bring it down 25, whatever, you know, use whatever excuse you want, like, hey, unless you can power it up, I really don't know what I'm getting into. Usually the chip never goes bad unless they've really overclocked it and smoked it, okay, but it's worth the investment. The reason being is that the Z87 was never originally designed for the Devil's Canyon, the 1470 series, 1370 series, all that type of stuff. If you go to MSI, and go to any of them that are Z87s, it doesn't matter whether it's MSI or not, and you look at the original specs for the card, on there they're going to tell you what the chipset originally was made for. Now, why that's important is you don't know when you get your motherboard when it was actually produced, like MSI out of China or whatever. You don't know. You don't know what that BIOS is. And if the BIOS will not recognize, in this case the Devil's Canyon, and one of those newer chips that have come out in the last several years, it will not boot. Okay, it will not boot. And that's why it's nice to have a chip, 1150 chip in this case, that goes back a few more years, or at least into the original area that the Z87s were made. So if you stick your Devil's Canyon in the case I did, I'm only testing. So, and if you look at the specs are good. You don't need a coolant to run it just, you know, like you hear. The fan that comes with is fine. I'm going to put a cooling on there, so just remember to take off the heat compound off this, and then it won't get on the chip. But otherwise, you end up cleaning it. Well, what I did is I stuck it in and I booted it up on the, this one has a A-B BIOS switch, and I booted it up in A, and I got 0, it booted, but I got 0 video out. So then I'm sitting there thinking about it, I thought, oh yeah, that's right. Whenever you get a chip, it doesn't matter whether it's brand new or maybe you bought it off of eBay or you bought it out at a yard sale, always, always, always reset the CMOS. Because whether it's in factory or not, they're going to test the motherboard with memory and in a configuration to make sure that putting circuit cards and stuff like that, and they may not clear the BIOS, okay, the CMOS. So make sure you do that. Okay, so I do that. I put the card in. It comes up okay. I still have no video, so I'm going, okay, is it really booting up? It kind of gives the idea that it's booting, but not. So what I did was I went ahead and just depowered it, switched it to BMOS, the B BIOS with a switch, repowered it up, boom, here comes my video. So I only got, and I was a little surprised because the BIOS for that B side was 1.2. Okay, and according to MSI, 1.2 BIOS should not have worked, but it did. Okay, cool. So the first thing I did, I depowered it. I went over to my other system. I pulled the latest BIOS for the 787. Brought it in and installed the BIOS onto B. And there's plenty of videos to show you how to do that, but it's really simple. It really is simple. So I brought it in, put it on B, it loaded. When you load the BIOS and it does its load, then it will actually depower itself and go to what you think is maybe not quite a blue screen. It just kind of goes there to this little, can't remember what the words were. And you just turn it off, remove the stick, remove the stick, power it back up, and it should be displayed, and it did. And I checked the BIOS and it was 1.9, which is perfect. So then I said, okay, have I got a bad CMOS A side? You know, there's a lot of little things, but the odds are it's not going to be that. The odds are it's probably just a different BIOS, a lower level than it should be. And so I put my stick back in. Now this is what I love about this one. I don't have to depower to switch the BIOS, because once BIOS is loaded, it's loaded. So I go and I put myself to the B side, depower, repower, or excuse me, no, let me go back a minute. No. I put myself to the B side. I'm not going to add this out because I made a mistake. I put myself to the B side. As soon as I did that, then I did a BIOS reinstall because my stick's in it, and that reinstalled into the B side. Okay. Then once I did that in the B side, it reinstalled it. It came back down. Took my USB out. Repowered back up. Now I have A and B 1.9. 1.9 will handle the Devil's Canyon. Okay, it's up in proper BIOS. I have an A-B side in case something happens, and I learned a lesson. Okay, now when I powered this to apply power, I of course used my 1500. When you're doing this arrangement and you're just going to check your motherboard, you don't need everything. All you need is the 24-pinner and the two J-powers. Okay? Now, for you who have never done this, or maybe you've done it a long time ago, you were like me, back then, other than this obvious one, or you know, other power supply for PSIs and all that stuff, they never labeled these things. Okay? And they look common to some of the other cables. Well, now they're labeling it, but here instead of saying J-Power, it just says CPU. It comes right out of here. You stick it on there, put your fan on CPU 1, okay, and you should be able to power up. This has a power on/off button, okay, and so I didn't have to bother putting this guy on. And that made it easy. And I'm only dealing with BIOS. If I was actually putting Windows on this stuff, then I would use these switches. So now, as far as building goes, you know, put this all together. I might do some stuff for my own documentation, and I may add it in here, or you know, add it onto my site. But there's a really good site I would tell you to go to. If this is your first time you've done gaming or this level of type of stuff, go check out the www.techvets.com. He's got a how to build a PC. It's dated 2013, revised 2013. I've seen several that he's made. That's the best I've seen. Okay, step by step. He talks about all the myths that can go on. It's about 2 hours long, but it's well worth having, if you have the capability of recording off your video, which I do, or if you got one of the Elgato's or something, definitely keep a copy of that course. Let me tell you, you'll really enjoy it, and it'll save you a lot of time. Okay. So anything else I forgot? I don't think so. Oh, make sure you have really good lighting. This room is not really set up with good lighting to put PCs together. That's why I have this one here, and I'll probably put a couple more here. In fact, I got one on the floor, a better one on the floor. You need a lot of light. You need a light coming from this way. You need a light coming from this way. Okay, you know, granted, I don't see very good a lot of times, but trust me, you need light to get in there and kind of look around. And that's why I like a handheld, because I can go like this and kind of see where things are. It's better than bending pins. Okay, did that a long time ago. Okay, so don't be proud, just do it. Okay, so this, I hope that works. Oh, by the way, it's still in Alaska. There's still no snow, but it is 10 degrees out there. Okay, but that's okay. Sun is shining. Okay, so we may get our last little snowfall Sunday, and they say maybe an inch. So I hear you guys on the East Coast are getting another storm coming. Hopefully it'll be a light one. Praying for you all. Have a good time. Food for thought. This is Chucky at Chucky's Corner.